There it is. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rubber Ducky YouTube channel. And today we have a special guest. I would love everybody to say hi to Dave Bagotka.
Yep.
And also we have Bumblebee with us as well. She's going to be moderating the channel. If you guys have questions, feel free to go ahead and post them. Now, remember, I'm going to be interviewing Dave and watching him. So there'll be times when I'll ask BB, are there any questions? And so she won't be able to get them all in. So we'll save a little bit of time for at the end where that's all we'll do is Q&A if that's okay. Okay? All right. So, welcome to the show, Dave. I want to thank you for coming today. And is your wife with you today as well?
She's here, but not on camera. Do you want her on camera with us? Or?
Sure.
If she wants.
If she's comfortable, that'd be great.
There she is. Hey.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you. Now, what was your first name? Forgive me.
Sandra.
Sandra. Okay. All right. Well, let me go ahead and get this really big here. And then I'm like blind as a bat without my reading glasses, but everybody says there's a glare on them and they can't see. So I got to mute this. Okay. We're just about all set up here. Okay. So, Dave, there are people that are just now finishing watching the first MaM even. And so let's do a little bit of introduction as to how you came involved with the Steven Avery case, and we'll just briefly go over some of that, and then we'll see where it goes. So the first time that you had heard the name Steve Avery was when?
Back in the 80s when we burned the cat.
Okay. So you're from Manitowoc.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in Two Rivers, lived there until I was 40.
Okay. So you heard about that, and so did you at that point, would you have known him if you saw him, would you have recognized him then, or was it more you heard about the Averys or you heard about Steven?
I don't think I'd recognized him, and I had heard about the salvage yard, and I don't know.
Didn't you say they used to come out to the lake there?
Yeah, that was way after that. That was in the late 80s.
Okay. So then after that occurred with the cat, how long before you heard about him again? How did he come back up into your life again?
It was after he got accused of doing the thing on the beach.
Okay. So you know something about that beach because it just so happened that you, in 1985, happened to be at that beach, correct?
Yeah, I happened to be down there that day out in my jet ski with a friend of mine, and Penny Beerntsen's husband approached me and my friend to see if we could help him look for his wife, who was missing running on the beach.
Wow. So this would have been Tom Beerntsen?
Yep.
He would have come up, he would have had a friend with him, and then he came up to you. Okay.
I was there with my friend, and he was alone when he came up.
Oh, he was by himself.
Yeah, and we talked about it, and then he said, well, he was going to go call the police. This is in the days before cell phones. So he went up to a local business a couple blocks away, called the police, and came back. And by the time he got back, there was a cop there too. I happen to know who the cop was. You know, he beat him.
How'd the cop get there so quick, I wonder?
Well, he called in from the beer depot. Bernstein, and the cop may have been closer, you know, maybe.
Right.
But the cop showed up, and then he came back, and he asked again about searching for her. And the cop actually said to me that he didn't think it was a good idea. And I thought, well, why? You know, why is it a bad idea for me to go
wait. Okay, so you suggested that you could help look for Penny Beerntsen, and she's missing at this point.
Yeah,
and the cop said, let me shut a window. I'm gonna, I have a train. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so at this point, the cop tells you when you're like, hey, I can help look for you, and your friend are going to help look. The cop tells you it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I was like, I can just take a ride all the way up to the point and back, and
take a ride.
It only takes a few minutes, you know.
He was on a jet ski.
You know, I
in
had
the water.
a jet ski, you know.
Oh, you could have made a lot of ground and really helped
Yeah,
them.
I did, you know. And I did, you know. I was like, well, I'll do it, you know. And I jumped on my ski and I headed up north. And I went all the way to Malarsh Creek, which is about the point and where he said she was going to run to, something like that, you know. And I got up there and there's happened to be two people there. And I said, have you seen this woman in I think she had some sort of teeny, green or blue, whatever you know, I don't remember exactly what color it was. But they said, yeah, she headed back the other way. So I turned around and then I was riding back. And on my way back, I saw her come running over the sand dunes. I wasn't sure if it was her because, you know, she didn't have a top on and she was covered in blood.
So you saw, as you're turning around, they've told you that the person you're looking for, which is Penny, has already turned around and went back. You're coming back, turned around, you're coming back when you actually see her running from the sand dunes towards the beach, right?
Yeah, she just came over the sand dune and was running down the sand dune. And then
wow.
I was the first one to see her.
These sand dunes are very large, so that when you're in the water, you can't see what's behind the sand dunes, or at least at that time it was like that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm from Florida, so I totally understand that. Okay, so do you make contact with her?
She ran past me crying. She ran to her husband. By the time I was on my way back, I think two police, the guy that was with me, my friend, and the husband had started walking up the beach, and they were almost to where she came out of the sand dunes. And then she ran past me, and the people let me back up a little bit. Before even Bernstein came up to me on the beach, I noticed it just seemed we were getting in trouble with our jet skis, and the people were calling the police on us. So I was kind of watching the road, anticipating the cops to show up. And it seemed like there was, you know, I saw county police. I saw the undercover county police go by. I knew what their car looked like, you know. And there was just it seemed like a lot of activity even before this. You know, and it seemed weird to me that there was all, you know, looking back now, you know, that there was so much activity down there.
Yeah,
And,
for a normal beach day, it wasn't like there was any festivals in the area or no weddings or any drinking parties, nothing, just a normal day on the beach, and you're seeing undercovers.
Yeah, you know, and then another thing that, you know, during the story, I think before Bernstein came up to us, two people went for a walk on the beach, a man and a woman. I know who they are. I can't remember their names, but they were from the area. I recognize them. And they were carrying a white beach towel, and they just went up the beach. You know, I didn't really watch even where she went or where they went. But when Mrs. Bernstein came running over the sand dunes, they were closer than me, but I pointed to her. You know, they were looking at me on the jet ski, and I was pointing at Mrs. Bernstein running down the dunes. And they gave her their towel, this white towel that they had. And then her husband came up, and the cops were there, and there wasn't really a whole lot going on the beach. And it was just like, you know, I didn't even think that she was attacked. I thought maybe she hit her head running through the woods or something, you know. And, you know, it just didn't seem to me like, you know, like.
You didn't see anybody like run away from her or anything as she was.
You know, but she looked like she was running like she was on fire. I mean, she was running with all her might over these dunes, you know. And, you know, I went and I asked the cop, I said, well, what happened to her? And he says, well, she was attacked. And I thought, well, you know, that was really weird. You know, it was something I didn't even think could happen in that small area. It's just something stupid you think about your home.
In the middle of the day, too.
Yeah, you know, but I was standing there for a minute or two yet, you know, and I thought, you know, what the hell? I know every trail in this woods. You know, I grew up around there. You know, I'm going to run up to the top of the sand dune and just see, you know, what's going on. And I ran up the sand dunes, and the two cops started screaming at me, like, no, stop, you know, stop. And I got to the top of the sand dune.
I wonder why they wanted you to stop.
They were afraid I would mess up the crime scene.
But were you running right through where she'd come from then?
Kind of, but not on her tracks, but where she had come from.
Okay.
And I got to when I got to the top of the hill, I just had a one look, you know, before the cops were screaming at me to come down and all that. And there was a dude standing 20 feet in front of me, maybe, bending down, picking stuff up. He had a leather jacket. I don't think he had it on.
He had a leather jacket?
And, you know, that to kind of speed up through the story, there's a lot more to this, but after Avery got found not guilty, I went and looked to see who the guy was that did it in 2003. And
Was it
looked
the
at
guy with the leather jacket?
Sure looked like him. I mean, you know, there's a lot of time, you know, I mean, involved there, and you know, it's hard to remember everything, but it sure looked. He had similar features. Let's just say similar features. And even weirder than that, there was more people back towards the woods, maybe 50 yards away, that I couldn't recognize. I could just see that there were people there, and they were going away from me. And then as I turned around, there was somebody laying down on the dunes, either with a camera or binoculars or something,
That's
videotaping,
strange.
watching the people on the beach. He's laying there. And then I came down on, you know, I was just like, oh, you know, cops are screwing up me. So I came down off the dunes, and that's the end of the story. You know, basically they told me to get, you know, I left.
It's really
you know.
strange to think that most likely, you know, in the timing that would have all taken place, that, you know, the chances are you were seeing Gregory Allen. The opportunity would definitely be there. But the question also I would have is, who the hell is filming this?
And where's that tape?
That seems strange. That almost is like, oh, let's catch this.
Well,
I don't know. It just seems like the cops are everywhere and they're responding quickly.
Ducky, everybody's asking if you can switch views or make it so that Dave pops up when he's talking so they can see
I don't know
him
how
better.
to do that. I want to. There. Hi. Thank you. I'm learning Hangouts. There you guys are. I thought I had a duck showing this whole time. Okay. All right. So obviously that situation stuck out in your mind for a while after that.
Sure. You know, that really shook me, you know, and the whole thing, you know, she was bloodied up pretty bad and everything. And, you know, that's why it stuck in my head. You know, that's why, you know, I've told a lot of people over the years. I mean, that was one of the first things I told her about. I said, there was a time on the beach, you know, and that was before any, you know, the rest of this happened.
Okay, so let's back up. Even though, you know, before we get to 2005, that wasn't all that happened with you. You ended up getting a bar of your own. And then what happened after that?
Well, before I got the bar, I was still working at this gas station where I was working at, you know, as a kid or whatever, pumping gas. And my boss said that this guy wanted to talk to me. And I don't want to bring up his name. He's still there. I mean, it's just, but he's an influential person in the county. Let's just say that. He wanted to talk to me about something, you know, and I was like, well, why would he want to talk to me? I'm just some, you know, pump jockey. I don't have any kind of college education. You know, I'm just, you know, I was like, oh, you know, and the guy shows up and he's like, you know, Dave, you should join this club that we have. And he whips out these pictures, you know, Polaroids back in the day, Polaroid pictures. And it's mostly homosexual naked activity. Let's just put it that way. And he's flipping through and he says, there's this club that everybody's in. Everybody who's in business or, you know, and you know, anybody is in this club. And, you know, we'd really like you to join this club with us. And, you know, I was looking at these pictures and I was like, Christ, put them away. I thought it was a joke, or, you know, I don't know what the hell was going on.
Just something really weird you're thinking at the time.
You know what I mean? And I recognized like 2 or 3 people out of the pictures. One of them was a teacher, and another one was a grade school football coach, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I just, you know, because I noticed their faces, but I kind of stepped away from the guy, and that was it. I never contacted him. He said I had to contact him. Come and see me. Come see me. We'll party and all this. And he saw. I think he could tell that I was kind of saw, or, you know, the homosexual stuff. You know, I don't know where, you know, he thought that would be appropriate, but he said to me, he said, "Don't worry, Dave. We get girls sometimes too." That was one of the things that he said to me. You know, and it was just a real creepy thing. You know.
He also explained to you that by joining this club, you get benefits.
Yeah,
perks,
yeah,
for
you know,
jobs.
So racketeering.
Yeah, you know, you're in with all the local business guys that are ground level, kind of. You know, you get preference on things. You know.
So, but you're just, at this time though, you're not in business really. You're just a gas station attendant, correct?
Yeah, I had a jet ski rental business at the time, but I mean, 2 jet skis.
Right. So it just seemed awkward and out of place. Like, why would it didn't make any sense at that time.
Thing on the beach.
Yeah, this was like within a month after I saw the thing on the beach.
See, that's where it makes sense to me.
And, I didn't really put a lot of this together until, maybe, a lot later, it just seemed weird. But like you said, then I bought a bar like a dummy when I was 20. But right away after I opened a bar, I started getting harassed by a mafia-like operation, racketeering operation. And one of the guys that was coming in the bar harassing me was this junior football coach guy,
That you had seen pictures of.
Yeah, that I got to, come and talk to these people in the basement of the Eagles Club, the local Eagles Club.
I know where that club is.
Talk to these people, and you got to talk to these guys, And I blew it off. I really just wanted to be a solo business person. I had heard about that before, this Good Old Boys Network, I never heard the official name of it. But I really didn't want to have anything to do with them. I had beefs with them in the past, and I thought their kids were a bunch of assholes, and I preferred to be in my own business, and I never joined the club, and, I didn't like running the bar after about 2 or 3 years, and I found a woman who had her building condemned and had a bar. It was called Pat and Mike's. And she came and she started working for me, and she brought a lot of business because she kind of had an establishment in the area. And she wanted to manage the bar. So I let her manage the bar. I didn't really like the bar anymore. I just had enough, especially with all this stuff,
Yeah.
It was like a run of bad luck. I had the slumlord guy after me. People were breaking.
You probably didn't know you were being targeted at that point.
It was just an unbelievable run of, just shit. 3 people were suing me.
Yeah, you were being targeted, so it was coming from every direction. But you're young at the time, and you don't know how big the situation has already escalated with, they're covering up the fact, and you don't know it at the time. Now hindsight's always 20/20 when we know all the facts, but we still don't, but we know more. So at the time, you have no idea that they've lost track of the guy they're supposed to be watching, which was Gregory Allen, and that that all day long they have him on an hourly check, and that day they only get 1 check in. Now it's interesting because at the time, the reason they state that they weren't able to do that is all the officers were on call at another location. And yet you're talking about the police are all over, you're seeing undercovers and you're seeing many police over at the beach by you. So it kind of like through your eyes, we can see that obviously there wasn't some big emergency that pulled them all away. And the fact that there's police in the same area that we now know after Steve Avery's exoneration, he wasn't guilty, that Gregory Allen was, then the police should have quite easily been able to check on Gregory Allen because they're in the same location, right?
Well, Gregory Allen was a Manitowoc, right?
Was a what?
He was living in Manitowoc at the time, wasn't he?
I don't really know where he was living at the time.
I think he was.
I think you would know better than I would.
I don't know for sure. But, to end the bar story, there's much more to it, but Mary Ann started managing my bar, and she was doing a really good job. She was doing the taxes and everything, but she was also getting harassed by these same people. And I was going to leave for a hunting trip, and I went and I talked to her, and she said she was really concerned about these people harassing her. And I told her, well, when I get back from the hunting trip, we'll go to the cops. And one of the last things she said to me is, she said, but Dave, they are the cops. That's what she said to me, And then I left for this hunting trip, and 2 days later, she was found dead, covered in blood with a gun next to her, and they called it a heart attack.
That's unreal. Yeah.
And the last guy that talked to me said something bad was going to happen if I didn't. Something, they were like laying it on the line. They were
So
really
at that point, you had to have been like, okay, I'm not imagining crap. I'm being targeted. You had to have thought that at that point.
At that point, it was really scary because you really have no recourse. I mean, who's running the FBI in Wisconsin? Just the same people. You know what I mean? They're all connected.
You got nowhere to go.
No, and if I would have kept, bucking the system, who knows what would have been next?
Right. So, how old would Mary Ann have been?
She was 42.
So they were trying to basically it was racketeering, I think. I think it sounds like it was basically they go to a business and they try to get them involved in the club and pay their dues, if you will, so that they can blackmail them later, it sounds like, is what the whole scam is going on.
Yeah, I think the sex stuff and that kind of stuff is like a control method. You get these pictures.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll show your mother, and stuff like that.
Interesting
Blackmail,
detail,
yeah.
this racketeering and photographing. And then we find out many years later in 2005 that a photographer is missing, and that's Teresa. It makes you kind of your mind wander a little there. So how much do you know about the 2005 incident? I mean, had you followed Steven through the news? Were you aware of the lawsuit? Where were you sitting when 2005 rolled around on knowledge of Steve Avery?
Well, I was ever since he got out, I was real interested in like what they were going to find out really happened on the beach, and how they screwed the whole thing up with his conviction, And so I was watching the news and I saw him living in his ice shanty, and I had heard some rumors about him that weren't real flattering, and maybe I don't want to drag up dirt, but he was in, but
we knew.
I knew who he was. I could have recognized him. I saw him on the news.
We knew he was suing them and stuff.
Yeah, we knew about the lawsuit and
news.
stuff.
Okay, so now recently we've been studying the CASO, and we've come along some points where Wiegert and Fassbender take Brendan Dassey to the Dassey boy residence there, Barb Yonda's place. And Fassbender reports in the CASO that him and Brendan go inside. Wiegert claims he's got to make a phone call. And then as the report goes on, it states in there Wiegert does make a phone call when they come out and reports to David Rimaker, the narcotics investigator, that they've got that stuff. And then they hightail it to Manitowoc County and meet with Dave Rimaker. And we've all kind of wondered how many, why are there so many narcotic investigators in the Halbach case? Now, do you feel that in what you had heard anything in the past, there was ever anything reported whatsoever about possible narcotics in the Avery clan or the Dassey clan or even anywhere in that location? Or was it pretty much just fines and stuff like that and news?
I never heard anything about like narcotics out there.
Okay, because we're trying to ask anybody that may know that
was narcotics big in the area back then?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was huge. I mean, that's when there was a local doctor, and he was getting everybody addicted to this.
Dr. Seisman.
Yeah, that's right in the middle of that, and if you went out to the bars and stuff back then, I mean, it was nothing but pills, opiate pills. It was really big. And now it's heroin. Heroin is really big there. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's really, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, that's not really that new. America suffers from a lot of really heavy drug use in certain areas and populations. But I do find it interesting that there was a meth rush, if you want to call it, or a phase that Wisconsin really got hit hard by a meth phase. And then on the day that Teresa Halbach is reported missing, we also learn on a call with Colburn and dispatch that they had found another woman named Carmen Boutwell that had died. And she was in Mishcon. So you've heard of Carmen Boutwell, correct?
I know who she was. I through this whole thing, when she died, I remember hearing about her dying at the time, but I didn't know her. Never heard of her until
right. But now that time has passed a little bit, we've witnessed that the state has given away the bone evidence, the biological evidence in the case, and hasn't abided by the law. They didn't retain it, and you kind of got to wonder, are they hiding the identity? Do you have any question in your mind that is absolutely Teresa's bones that they've got, or what are your thoughts?
My thoughts, I don't believe anything. I only know when I don't know. But my guess would be that she's not dead. I mean, no, it pisses a lot of people off, and they want to throw grief at you. About
I believe she's not dead either.
it just they haven't proven she's dead. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there is no scientific proof she's dead. What was that, Sandra?
So, yeah, we have doubts about the bones.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
Me too.
there's no way you can trust any of the evidence if it was gathered by the.
And if it went in Sherry Cohane's hands in the
Yeah.
lab. Yeah.
Which is,
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants currently to ask about the gas station.
Oh, okay. So, Dave, we've watched your videos and such. So, hate for you to have to relive it again, but would you mind going through this story for us one more time, you and Sandra?
you know, this freaks a lot of people out, and it's really a saga. But the night of the alleged murder, the Halloween night, Sandra and I, we lived out in Two Creeks at the time. It was about 7 miles from town. We loaded our bicycles up in the back of our pickup, drove down to Wallace Field, unloaded our bicycles, and went riding around Two Rivers to look at all the Halloween decorations and people trick-or-treating and things. And on our way back from doing that, we went past Patsy's Drive, whatever it is.
Patsy's Highway 42.
Yeah, it's a mobile mart. And I looked and I saw a guy who looked Steven Avery in a black F series heavy duty pickup truck, filling up gas.
What color was it?
It was dark,
Black.
black.
Black? Okay. That's what he had, so that would make sense.
I didn't know he had that truck. I didn't know he had that truck until.
That's why it even validates it more, is because how, if you don't know that, it just shows that, you could have guessed the wrong color if you didn't. You know what I'm saying? It validates that you probably did see him.
And he had that red and white snap-on jacket, I think it is, or a NASCAR jacket or something that he wore.
Now, was he alone?
That he was wearing that. But anyways, I rode past him. I looked at him. There was a female in the passenger side of the truck. And I remember looking at her. I'm like, well, he's got a girlfriend. He can't be doing too bad. I didn't, and I rode up to the side of the gas station and I called her over and I said, look, there's Steven Avery, And we both stood there, watched him. He went and paid for his gas. He got in his truck and he left, And then the whole murder thing happened and all that was going on. And less than a week later, or about a week later, I said to her, after we found out when the murder happened, I said, we saw him that night. And we're like, yeah, and I was like, well, we should probably report it. So we reported it to the sheriff's department. I called twice. I called one time and they said they'd send somebody out. Nobody ever showed up. I called again. They said they'd send somebody out and then nobody ever showed up. So I had her type up a letter of what we saw and send it to the sheriff's department. And we kept a copy and it's gone.
Yeah. Well, the female that was with him, you probably, it's hard to say and it's a while ago, but we've heard so much in this case about Marie Avery. And this would be somebody that he would not have wanted to bring up. And if he's buying gasoline, this would have been also something most likely that wouldn't have helped the defense. So I can see where the defense may have not wanted to talk about that. But at the same time, it would have given him an alibi. So, I'm not sure why it wasn't approached and why nobody felt that it was important. But it does bring me to recently, we've been looking very, very hard at some of the choices that the defense has made, and ineffectual counseling isn't cutting it. It's beyond that. There's a gentleman's agreement before trial begins that has a prosecution and defense shaking hands and agreeing off record that they will not question where the DNA is identified from for Teresa Halbach. So what they do is they bring in a pap smear and they intentionally leave off all medical verification of whose pap smear that is. So if the defense is not playing the right game, they wouldn't have wanted to bring out the fact that he was seen off-site, because that would have blown a hole in the state's theory. I think Steve could have weathered, I was getting gas, if he wasn't home, and if he's got other people with him, he could have weathered it. But do you think possibly the reason is that it wouldn't have helped the prosecution, so maybe it was suppressed?
Yeah, I don't know. All the while I was watching the trial, I assumed that my letter was probably known, you know. And as they went through the time frame, I found, we found out that it was not even mentioned. It wasn't in the.
Let's go over that time frame again. What about, I know it's kind of hard to tell because you guys are out joyriding on your bikes, enjoying a lovely evening, but you're talking before dark, correct?
No, it was dark.
It was dark.
Dark.
Yeah.
The lights were on underneath the, the gas station area.
So if you had to guess what time it was, what would you guys
I
say?
looked it up because so many people asked that question, and you can go back and look and see when sunrise and sunset was for certain times. And I want to say that it was around 6 o'clock or something is when sunset was. And it was
I live in Wisconsin, and that's about when I do a haunted house every year, and so I do know right at that time about what time it gets dark, and you're right in the vicinity of when it'd be getting just enough dark. You can still kind of see, but not real good.
Right, it was dusk, if I recall, because it wasn't totally dark yet, but it was, it was dark enough that everybody had lights on and stuff, and parking lots and stuff like that.
Right. So the automatic lights were kicking on. So knowing that he was getting gas at night, did that leave you with feeling that influenced how you felt about the case at all? Do you feel that Stevens, where do you guys stand?
Well, at the time, I thought he was guilty. I thought maybe he went crazy in prison. And he was buying the gas. It's significant when you're accused of burning a body,
Yeah, you're buying the gas, and you need a lot of gas to be able to do that.
But as the trial progressed and I learned more, throughout the trial, I started to doubt it because it sounded just like the last one, like somebody was controlling the narrative,
A puppet master.
Yeah, and that's when I started, after he got convicted guilty, I was probably the only person I heard of that said that he could have been innocent. And he was framed the first time and possibly the second time is what I said.
I was watching you. I was one of your watchers back then. Yeah. That's one thing I've always said about you, and I think it's very important, is that two people have not changed their story throughout all the years of this case that I've watched. And that is Steven. He has remained solid on what he said the first time. He'll still tell you the same thing today, and you. So I appreciate that, because that tells me a lot about what really happened. It's very hard to remember a lie. It's very easy to remember the truth. And so I find that very, very reassuring that what you bring to us is straight up the way it happened. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for you and Sandra for, bringing public awareness to a case where you don't get anything but hassle out of it, But so now you've kind of changed your view. You feel more that Steven's innocent. What do you feel? I know we have some problems with the state right now. I mean, the circuit court not answering and so forth. But what do you feel is the weakest part of the case? If we could change it, let's say we could produce a piece of evidence, or we could get a hold of one thing, what do you think would be the most telling, seal the deal proof he's innocent that Zellner could get her hands on?
Yeah, Teresa Halbach.
Yeah.
Oh, what a brilliant answer.
Well,
I love that answer.
They haven't proven her dead yet, in science. So.
And it's not even just your opinion. It's actually scientifically proven that there's not enough proof for us to make a judgment call on that. There's not enough proof to say she's dead, and there's not enough proof to say she's alive. And every day, BB can tell you, it depends on which, someone will tell me something, or I'll read something, I go, oh, and I'll start to lean, okay, she has to be dead, or she'd be dead by now, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I find out new information. I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean her social security number's still active? Okay, she's got to be alive. So I can't make the call yet.
Did you see the stuff on Reddit about her supposedly being put into a witness protection program?
Yeah, I've read a little bit.
Yeah. Supposedly she was an undercover drug person,
DEA?
Yeah, something. In Milwaukee.
Or DOJ.
There.
Or DOJ.
And they used that to get her into the witness protection program. And it's a federal law that you can't expose somebody that's in the witness protection program.
Would explain why we have a lot of silent people.
So even if Zellner knew she was wherever, she couldn't say anything because she'd be breaking a federal law.
Yeah,
Well, that would explain. I know a lot of people have gone to Zellner and said she's alive, or they believe her to be alive, and there's never been anything said about it. So that would explain it right there.
Well, let's walk on that theory, you guys. Let's give it a big green check mark for a minute. Let's pretend Teresa Halbach is alive. We're still looking at bones. In this case, they have cut marks. And so Dave, where do you feel that they would have got the bones if Teresa is alive?
They don't even know if they're human bones, right? I mean, some of them could be.
Oh, no, we know they're human bones. We do know. The pelvic bone is absolutely human.
All right.
We had 2 anthropologists look at it. One, which they chose to take for the trial, which was Leslie Eisenberg. She said possible human. But Dr. Bennett actually saw the bones first, and he did identify it 100% that that is a female human bone.
And that one has the saw cut in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kerf marks.
Doesn't someone associated with the sheriff and whatever, I don't know, all these people and stuff together, but have a relation that has a funeral home?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Deputy Bushman was the deputy that had the canine unit in 1985 and was protecting the perimeter when Steven was being arrested for the Penny Beerntsen alleged rape and attempted murder. So Bushman retires, and in 2005, he comes out of retirement. Now, some people have challenged me and said, well, he was on reserve. Well, it doesn't matter because I read the CASO, and the CASO comes right from an officer saying he was retired. That's for all the listeners that are wanting to know that. So Bushman comes out of retirement. He's involved directly with the 1985 case, being one of the arresting officers. And he's put in charge to find Teresa Halbach. And he goes down on Cuss Road and he causes up a little stir, and everybody quits what they're doing. And they run over where he's cried wolf, and they're like, oh, no, this isn't nothing. And they all go back to work. But then it's not very much longer. Within a couple hours, they all have to drop everything what they're doing because they found where the real situation is. They've got DCI there. They've got major thing going on Cuss. Now, at that time, the cadaver dog went down there he alerted, I think it was Loof, alerted on the back step of the little red trailer, which the address is the Randit Deer Camp. And it leaves there, and it's hot on the trail, goes right to Cuss Road, and the cadaver dog wants to go past the blocked off crime scene tape where everybody is. Deputy Bushman has them all down there, and they're told no by Sheriff Pogo. Can't bring that. It's a crime scene. You can't bring the dog in. Yeah, and that's Bushman. His wife, Ann. The whole family owns the funeral home there, and that's where Carmen was cremated. So,
yeah, wasn't her body taken to Waukesha to be autopsied?
Yep, indeed. She actually was alive when she got to the hospital, and then she died and was transported. First, the Manitowoc County coroner, Deb, got on the autopsy. She got pulled off in a couple days. She was extremely upset and calling to the family a lot. So Manitowoc County used that as an excuse to pull her off of Carmen Boutwell's autopsy, and then sent Carmen's body over to another county. I believe it was Waukesha. We have the report, so I don't know. We can't share it yet.
Why did they take the coroner off?
Well, according to Manitowoc County, they felt she was contacting the family too much.
Yeah, because she kept apologizing to them that this shouldn't have happened or something.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting is Carmen, they do a toxicology report on Carmen to find out if, this is something that should have normally happened. Number one, it's a prescription medication that she died from was methadone mixed with alcohol. And it's a small amount, but it's enough to kill her. What's interesting is she has no prescription for the drug. And so originally, Dave Remacher went on the news, and in the paper, his press release was that Carmen Boutwell was a homicide, quote unquote, that would be like a needle in a haystack to solve.
Yeah, I don't.
And also, she was only known to be a pothead.
Yeah, she wasn't a methadone user. It'd been the first time, according to what we were told, that the organs were nice and pink. There was no sign of that. She had just rolled in college, starting to get excited about school. She wasn't suicidal. There was no reason for it to happen.
And there was a secret meeting shortly beforehand, too.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, what's in question, we've heard two different people, but the one person I'm currently talking with is met with the family many, many times, the Boutwell family. And they're still holding strong that it was DCI that was talking to Carmen Boutwell days before her death. And that's Department of Correction investigation.
So she was like an informant for him, maybe, or something?
We don't know.
Or maybe they were pressuring her to be, or...
Well, according to this person that's met with the family a lot, they were pressuring Carmen to the point that she was backing out. She was like, nope, not doing this, not doing this. And whatever it was, when none of us know what Carmen was being asked, because Carmen didn't share that with anybody that's talking. But whatever it was they were trying to get Carmen to do, the family has stated that she was absolutely refusing to do it. Now, what's interesting is Carmen and Teresa are both seen last October 31st.
Yeah, it just fits that something is really wrong with the whole situation going on.
Well, there's also that account where Teresa tells her partner, Pierce, at the photography studio, that Halloween's going to be her last day at Auto Trader.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard that one before, but...
Oh, that's in the reports themselves. Yeah, no kidding. Tom Pierce is actually not her boss. It's a co-worker. She worked with.
I said partner.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Wow.
Yeah, Teresa.
But Auto Trader didn't seem to know that, but she had told Pierce that beforehand.
That's what Tom Pierce reported to them.
I know something I can tell you.
Please do.
When we were on our last trip, I had a guy contact me who lived in Oregon, and he said he was at a party, a family gathering, and he met some guy from Manitowoc that said that he had something to do with a murder on the Halloween, and he was covered in blood, and he was getting away from this cult or whatever he called it, and he was out in this Oregon place hiding, and it really freaked this guy out, but he never really made anything of it until he heard about making a murderer, and then he started finding out more, and then he contacted me about this guy he talked to back in 2005.
So the guy that was hiding in...
He was hiding in Oregon.
Was the one that was covered in the blood?
He was reliving some sort of a traumatic event that he had witnessed or been in on, and was hiding from these people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really a weird, the guy's a real guy. I'm friends with him on Facebook now.
Right.
I tell you the story, but that's the gist of it. And
right.
Investigating this, he's trying to figure out who the guy was, because it was like a family member's friend or something.
So what he's saying is this one guy was covered in blood, and he was freaking out and trying to hide from the police, and he found out about it because he knew the guy.
No, somehow this guy was at this murder, or knew about this murder of a woman, and it was somewhere around where the Avery place is, the way it sounded.
Well, that sounds like it would be very interesting to know more.
Or to talk to him, yeah.
Yeah.
There's another guy who lives on that Cuss Road.
Yeah.
That guy that has the cart. Who's that guy?
Leo,
yeah. He said something to somebody that he pointed, well, that's where they killed her, but they tore down the building. He said that to somebody else. Who do you say that to?
I think it was one of Eric Cozy's friends.
Who done it or whatever, Mark Who Done It or one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's a lot of people out there that have, you know, other kinds of.
Actually, it's really strange. We went to Cuss Road, me and BB did, and there's a house sitting right there. If something happened on Cuss Road, you would have had to know that that person wasn't home, or they would have had to been involved. You couldn't miss it. It would be their front yard. And it's an older house. It's been there for many, many, many years. So I'm not quite sure what happened on Cuss Road, but I see these black scorchings and I see all of the cars parked there, and that come right from evidence files. So we know that at some point there was something major that took place on Cuss Road. You've got 5 black Blazers with tinted windows in a row, and they've crime seen the entire area off, not letting the dogs down there. They've got what appears to be some sort of a blue vehicle, very squatty Jeep like sitting at the top of Cuss Road. And then you can see the big yellow EMT vehicle, which is a Calumet County vehicle. So they've got everybody and their brother there on Cuss Road for some reason. And the dogs are hitting there too. So, you know, you got to wonder if they would have used Carmen, her bones, they would have had to get them there somehow. I'm not sure. BB, honey, are you hot? Are you hot breathing in my ear?
Maybe.
Okay. But, you know, how would they have the approach as to how to introduce Carmen's bones into this scenario? I feel personally that if they're going to use Carmen's bones, they wouldn't even hit Avery's property. It would have been like arrived in the same box that it left in, kind of thing.
I don't know. You know, when they control the whole thing, they could have put them in
crime lab and all.
You know what I mean?
Don't get me started on the crime lab. I absolutely, me and all our crew, including Dr. Silkman, we feel that the entire case is based on the crime lab, actually.
Built in the crime lab.
Built in the crime lab. Like, we don't believe that there was, personally, I'll tell you, I don't believe there was blood in the RAV in the first place. We have Mike Halbach coming back after the crime lab had it, and he's the brother of the victim, and he's pleased to let everybody know in the press conference that it was noted there was no harm done, none found in the RAV. Well, if there was blood there, that wouldn't have been stated. So we honestly believe that the state, the way they're behaving, the way the crime lab has other issues in its past, the way they did things, probably the case got built right there. Even Zellner says that there's no doubt in her mind that the hood latch is actually saliva.
Well, Calhoun, they caught them passing instructions of what they wanted her to find.
Connect Steven Avery.
Yeah, put her in the garage or put her in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then the bullet has been debunked by Zellner, which is what put her in the garage.
So, Dave, at what point did you just kind of be like, I got to get the heck out of Dodge here and move out of Manitowoc? I mean, you and Sandra, you knew each other at that time, obviously. You're bike riding at Halloween together. So were you married at that point?
Yeah, we got married in 2000.
Okay. So you guys both, were you experiencing something that kind of made you just feel like it was time to move on? Or
Mostly just the bad weather. We didn't move because of this.
No.
You know.
Okay.
We moved.
That's been always a personal question of mine.
I have a bad back, and the cold, damp weather is the worst thing for it.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
from
true.
Texas, so
and Sandra's from Texas, so
I
we
have
kind of.
family here.
So you just wanted to get to a warmer climate for health reasons, which makes sense. Yeah. So now, did you know that Penny Beerntsen is joining up with Netflix and Laura Ryder, Knight Rider? Knight Rider is going to be helping to put out more or less a victim awareness Netflix documentary. Did you hear that?
No, I know nothing about that.
Now, I don't
It's
know.
about false memory or something.
Yeah, it's about why didn't my bell go off or something. What I found interesting with the Penny Bernstein thing there is when they go to give her, first of all, the photographs, they do not include Gregory Allen in that lineup. And then to further insult the victim, they give her an actual physical lineup and have all the people, you know, all the men stand up with their numbers. First of all, Steven Avery looks like a midget amongst them because they're supposed to be getting people the height of the attacker, and he is what? What is he, baby? 8 inches shorter? 6
Yeah,
inches
at
shorter?
least, yeah.
So he looks like a little kid in the group. And they don't put Gregory Allen in that lineup either. So, you know.
And Steve Avery was both in the photo array and in the lineup.
Yeah.
He was the only one that was in both. So
do you feel like this is going to be a tough one, and you might want to plead the fifth? I don't know. It's going to be the tough one. Do you feel like this could have been a setup from the beginning, even with Penny Beerntsen?
Yeah, I don't doubt anything anymore.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm starting to wonder too. The police are there. That bothers
right away. And I have a question about the day on the beach with the husband. Was it his wife and his kids supposed to be with him? So where was his children during the whole cop thing? And
I don't know anything about any kids down there. I never saw his children. So
right.
I was wondering, like when you said he left to go look for her and to go make a call to the police, and where his kids were suddenly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do have a question you might be able to answer, Dave. So from where he was, if you had to just guess, and I know it's been a long time, from where he originally talked to you and the cop was like, I don't think that's a need to do that about helping. You took off to go help on the what is it called? Jet ski.
Yeah.
Okay, I just drew a blank for some reason. Approximately how far away would Penny have approximately been where the sand dunes were that she came running? I mean, were we looking at a mile or two, or quite a ways?
It's probably less than a mile, but almost.
Okay. Okay.
Well, and how far away was that point thing that you said that she was supposed to be running to?
It was about 6 miles up to there.
Okay.
Okay. Because there was a report one time in a newspaper I read where it made no sense to me, and I thought, well, that has to be a typo. But what it basically stated was that Sandy Beerntsen was, or Peggy, I'm sorry, Peggy was Penny. Sorry, she was jogging up to go on a jog, but she was only going to be gone for 15 minutes. And yeah, this is what the paper said. And then after 15 minutes, he got the police and went after her. And I thought, well, geez, that doesn't seem like that would work in that timeline. I mean, who would call the police after 15 minutes?
Especially if she's going to jog 6 miles and then back.
Yeah.
I remember him saying something about 45 minutes or something that she was missing.
Right. That would fit more to me, is the 45-minute timeline. So what is your take nowadays on this case? Do you feel that this is ever going to get resolved, or what do you feel?
Boy, I don't know. I'm just sitting and watching now.
It seems like the people on the side of the state have really dug themselves into this deep. Like they're all in, they're going all the way. So, I mean, trying to stop it from the truth coming out or whatever. They're highly invested in keeping Steven and Brendan in prison. And I'm sure that they never in a million years anticipated that this was going to turn into what it has.
Because there's no way they could have known. Yeah.
They thought they could do just, cover it all up and it would go away and no one's going to have.
Yeah, nobody'd ever care 2 shits about Steve Avery,
Well, it doesn't make sense with what.
In a similar situation who never had a documentary made about them, you know, also are sitting in prison because they got railroaded.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if Teresa is alive and she is under a witness protection, which would be federal level, it would explain a lot about the hush hush. It can't go this way. But what it wouldn't do is it wouldn't leave us with the evidence that they have in the case. And so we would be looking at different victims. So one thing I will say is Christine Rudy has been brought back up. It was something that people were on a little while ago, like a year or two ago. They were doing a couple Reddits, but it seemed like nobody went any further on it. They just dropped it and left it lay. But the truth is, with Christine Rudy, her husband, Sean Rudy, and her and the mistress, the third party person, had traveled all the way down to Iowa, and had went down the center of Wisconsin all the way to Iowa. And so we're not looking at that many counties apart for these two girls. And both the report of what happened to the victim in the Halbach case or the Avery case was shot in the head, dismemberment with cut kerf marks on the bones. The bones being burned, and then what we have is we have several piles of bones, which make no sense. Like we'll have two piles of bones just feet from each other in the quarry, and they're like distinct piles. So that's always bothered me, why we have these piles. I get that this guy's insane in the first place, so we shouldn't try to figure it out. But there's always been a part of me that's like, but there's got to be even a crazy answer on his terms why he would put them in different piles. Did they spill the bucket? What was the deal? And then you find out in the Christine Rudy case, he shoots his wife in the face on the side of the road. Him and his girlfriend then wrap her in a tarp, put her in the back seat, go 3 miles up the road to a trailer set exactly like Steven Avery's trailer, with a tiny little shed that matches the same proximity as the Steven Avery garage. He takes his dead wife into the garage. He dismembers her with a curved knife, which creates kerf marks on the bones. He dismembers her, tries to burn her behind the side of the garage there, just like you hear about in the Avery case. Doesn't work. So what he does then is him and the girlfriend put her in this barrel, this big garbage can, and they tarp it. They put it in a minivan, put hay bales around it, and they drive it out to the Cobain Bridge over the Chippewa River, and they dump it. And right away, it was within 2 weeks of that time frame, the investigators find the bone fragments of the skull with the brain matter still in the skull on the side of the road. Then the dogs take him right to his mother's house where he's done this dismemberment. And it took them all the way until the middle of March to actually, when the thaw started happening and so forth. And they got this little girlfriend or whatever to talk, where they found the remains. And what's bothered me is, so if this would have been going on, Sean would have technically, if he's all hyped, they said he was all up on meth and what do you call that? Really high on meth. I don't know, a rampage. So he did a crime spree of 27 bars along his way. He went smack dab within an hour of where the area was just a day or two later. Who knows if he's traveling? How do we know the state didn't just kind of cover up one of the murders and say, hey, we'll just give that to Steven Avery? We have so much of the same MO. So that's what we've been working on our channel, is trying to figure out if there's a connection between the two cases. They happen 12 days apart, and they happen, very close proximity to each other. And then it's interesting because in the Christine Rudy case, the county thanks 9 other counties for helping solve the problem. They don't name them though, but you wonder, with this kind of, like you say, boys club, photography, kind of creepy. So, well, Dave, I really do appreciate you and Sandra coming on and doing this with us. Is there anything else you guys want to share with us? Otherwise we'll take some Q&A.
Can't think of nothing else.
Yeah, you've done a lot of videos for us. I want to thank you for that. Hats off, man, to be able to hold up to the scrutiny. And I know you've been put through some hell over you speaking out, like a lot of people trying to discredit what you say, but I absolutely watched you for a long time, and you've never once changed your story, and that means the most to me.
Thanks.
I mean that truthfully. I believe whatever.
I enjoy watching your channel. All the stuff that you read, all the documents. It just supports the whole case of how messed up it is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go over and let's grab some questions. Are you guys ready for a little Q&A? Let's see, where do we go? I wound way up. Okay, that's where we switched the camera. Yeah, I didn't know how to do that, you guys. I'm still new to that. Karen says, had she realized she would have prepared a question. Karen says, I was interested in the man who would come visit Dave after the day on the beach. Okay, she doesn't say what she was interested in him on.
I'm not sure. She met the guy at the gas station, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's who she's talking about. Everybody wants to know who that is.
Yeah.
Dave's hesitant to say
Yeah,
because
there's
this
still
guy's a very powerful person,
yeah,
and he's still in politics
still there,
in that area.
still
Yeah,
hanging.
well, and you want to keep yourself safe too.
And other people. I mean, they can reach out to a lot of different people and affect your life.
Yeah.
He's got family that still lives there.
The danger ain't over yet.
Right. So Sammy asked, so Dave, what did they say she died from? And I think they're asking you about your bar manager.
They said she died of a heart attack. And to be fair, supposedly she had some sort of heart condition. But the thing that didn't make any sense to me is her boyfriend who found the body said that she was covered in blood. And when the cops first got there, they arrested him because they thought he murdered her because there was so much blood. And then they come
Yeah,
out.
that doesn't fit a heart attack, does it?
Yeah.
Not really,
Okay, let's see.
I told you she was sleeping with a gun next to her bed because she was.
She was, and so the gun was still by her bed.
Well, that's the gun she was probably talking about. She said she was so worried about this stuff that she was sleeping with a gun next to her bed. That was one of the things that she told me.
So she was totally, for lack of better word, she was triggered. She was watching her back.
And I was working full time somewhere else, so I didn't spend a lot of time there.
Right.
Some group of people had a huge party at his bar and stole and took everything of value and gave away all the liquor.
And the guy who was behind my bar giving away all the stuff is the same guy that came to the gas station.
Now, did they break into the bar or did they get the keys from your bar employee?
Well, I imagine the place was open. She had keys and there was bartenders with keys. And I was gone. I didn't come back for a week. So
where was her body found at?
It was at her apartment.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right by her gun.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Karen Lavery says she has a two-part section here. On one of the channels, it debated 3 deaths in 30 days at the time, and they may have been drug-related. Carmen Boutwell, Teresa Halbach, and George Zipper's son or grandson. So George Zipper's grandson supposedly killed himself, and Karen says, number 2, that Teresa was an official informant, was going to do a drug deal that day that resulted in her death. God knows what happened. So it's more of a statement or opinion than a question. I think they were mainly listening to us because I don't see a lot of questions. A couple comments, but I'm looking to see if there's any questions.
Dave says it could be the final fate was due to heart failure. However, the failure could have been induced by a prior action.
Yeah, like a gunshot.
Like they scared her into a heart attack.
Why do you become covered in blood? I mean, how many people have a heart attack and aspirate so much blood that they're absolutely covered in it to the point where they're putting the boyfriend in handcuffs?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they automatically assume, foul play due to all the blood.
And that guy was really freaked out too. He was really freaked out about the whole thing. I think he knew more, didn't want to say anything either.
Right.
The impression I got from him.
Disco Pervert says, she's a good friend of ours, it's just a funny name, but she says, hi, Dave and RD. I felt like your stories of the business being targeted is just racketeering. It's mob-like. Mob-like, okay. Do you think they use pictures to manipulate people, or is there something a bit deeper?
Yeah, I don't know. I imagine they use it to, as like insurance policies so people don't backstab you. But it could be, I don't know. You know, I've
Right. They could be exposed for having kinky, weird sex or whatever.
Yeah. I've heard all sorts of stuff about people around there being involved in Satanism stuff. And, you know, where did
Well, you know, it's really weird because when you go there, Dave, you know as well as I do, you've got Devil's Park on one side, and then you've got Hotel Hell right above there. And when one time I was doing a live video and I had a map and I had it blown up really big. And so you could see Maribel Cave on there and you could see Devil's Park and you could see the Avery property and you could even see Michael Material Quarry as well as Randets. And what's shocking is there is no denying there is a huge natural land formation skull right over the Avery property. Like the Avery property is part of the very base of the skull itself. It's quite shocking because this guy's like, why'd you put a skull on there? And I'm like, what? That's the map. And he's like, oh, I thought it was a picture of a skull. And I look and I'm like, that's so strange. So it could be that there's some satanic people that are like, look, that looks like a skull and that's Devil's Park and you got Hotel Hell. Let's use the area. Maybe they think there's some power. Who knows?
There's that Maribel Caves that's a park that's right there next to Hotel Hell. That was Maribel Hotel or whatever it was at the time. That there's a lot of really shady stuff that goes on down there.
I don't doubt that at all after being there.
Back in the 90s, you know, I drive by there quite a bit. I used to go to that park a lot. It's a really cool place. But there would be times that the park would be closed. You know, they'd close the gate. And there'd be a county cop car parked in front of the gate. You know, like they were having some sort of a party or something, a gathering down there, and they were actually using a cop car to block the gate.
You know, those places, the places where you walk down there and then it just drops off with a hole to nothingness. If a killer really wanted to get rid of somebody, there are places in Maribel you could just make someone disappear in the cave. There's places that it just drops off and I don't even know how to explain it. We were going down the stairs even and you could see this huge opening beneath us. And I dropped a dime down there. BB and them went on their way. I dropped a dime down there and I never heard it hit. Now, it could have been that it was green leafy stuff down there and it just didn't make a sound. But it just was very eerie. And that place is creepy as all get out.
Yeah. And there's another way to get in there off of, 147? You know, in the valley there where you drive through where the river is on 147. There used to be another way to get in there. You could drive, there was a road.
A little, like, forestry road or something. We used to go down there and go hiking that way.
There's been a lot of shady stuff that's gone on down there.
They found a pant leg, a woman's partial pant leg, and a box of lube down there.
Well, that's nothing uncommon down there. It was really a weird place sometimes. You know, it attracted a lot of creepy people. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Well, I know that Colburn, that's what he got. They were doing their search for Hallback, and that's what they found, so they called him down there. But what's interesting is right following that on the evidence list, it goes right to the cranial bone and a shovel and duct tape and pieces of clear plastic and just some really intense stuff like, you know, your murder kit follows them finding the pants leg and the lube. And so the evidence property tag numbers of the lube and the pants leg are 5-200. So 05-200. And right away, 05-201, you get everything that you need for a murder. And I'm still working on getting the latitude and longitude to be able to see if they really did find that stuff anywhere near Avery's or if that stuff was actually found right with the pants leg and the lube or right near it at Maribel.
Yeah, I drove past the Avery place when they were doing the investigation. I never knew there were so many state patrol cars. I mean, the road is just lined with state patrol people. It was
Chucky said that too. Chucky Avery told me that too, that he said he didn't even know that there was that many state patrol people that worked for Wisconsin. He said it was just all the way solid cars like a parade.
Yeah, that was really, really something, you know, and it makes you wonder, how do all these other cops feel now? that were there. Now that if they have any kind of an open mind, they can see that there's something seriously wrong with this case. How do they?
Yeah, and nobody stepped forward. That it keeps coming up with that nobody spoke. And like you're saying, so many people that would know something and nobody's talking. There has to be like a federal law or something that's making them stay so tight-lipped.
Because I don't believe all the cops are crooked. I don't think that that's possible. But
We'd hope not, right?
oh, but you'd think that there'd be some of them that would at least have an open mind enough to say that something's not right. But they all just stick to the lies, the narrative of lies.
Susan Sims makes a great comment. She says, I think Dave may have the key to this whole case. Cops and judges and politicians compromised by shady as shit stuff. I've thought this since I first discovered Dave's videos a couple years ago.
There's
I agree.
Up there. That's not. You've had other people, business people, refer to this club to you directly. This group of people over the years.
They control the whole narrative in this case.
Yeah.
They control everything. And
those people were involved in all the industry that was in that area. There's like a whole bunch of industry that's no longer there that used to be, that employed thousands and thousands of people in these huge facilities, multiple campuses basically of the same corporation making Miro pots and pans, the Manitowoc crane. It's a heavy industrial area, and there was a lot of money coming there.
During the war, they were building submarines there, so there's a connection to the military-industrial complex and all of its corruption.
Then
then you got Al Capone and all them guys.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Manitowoc has a little bit of a historical legend, because Al Capone supposedly, and there's no proof he didn't, he supposedly owned Hotel Hell, and he would have run a water bottling company out of there because it had a natural spring, which would have been a great cover for bootlegging, of course. And so you kind of got to wonder, you start hearing things on MaM where you hear, the boss wants us to do a change of plans. It sounds mafia-like. You look at the Ricky Hochletter case, feels mafia-related there, when you have the mother coming up years later after giving evidence right to Lincoln Colburn and Bushman and saying, hey, this evidence is linked to my son's death, the murder, the hit-and-run murder. And then she says, what did, Department of Corrections investigations say? And Link says, oh, they weren't interested in helping this case. She calls them herself. She goes home. She calls DCI herself. And they're like, we've never heard of this case. Link is full of crap. He lied right to the victim's mother's face. We're saying the same thing, that, oh no, it's all taken care of. There's nothing they're going to help us with. Don't go bother DCI. And the DCI did investigate it. They actually investigated it to the point that they were investigating Robert Herman himself. They were investigating Bushman. They were investigating the officers for maybe being the ones to have actually killed the boy in an accidental snowstorm hit and run. And so, how these mafia stories or these boys clubs, people like to say, well, go put your tinfoil hat on. That's a conspiracy theory. Well, you know what? There's a lot of truth to what we're saying. The fact that it's not just Dave that's experiencing bullying if it was case related. I personally have went through some things myself. I'm back in the case after catching my breath, but I personally got to the point I walked away from the case like, bam. And it took me 1.5 years to get to where I was okay again. And like Dave says, back in the day, you didn't have the protection of Manitowoc being distracted. Nobody was distracting Manitowoc. They did what they wanted. Nowadays, they got a lot of issues. So,
and a lot of eyes on them now.
Right. Jeff has a question. Yeah, you want to read it, BB?
Well, go ahead. You already got it too.
Okay. Jeff says, do you know whether Steve or Zellner has been confronted with your story of witnessing of Steven at the gas station? Part 2, do you expect you would be subpoenaed by the state to testify if that came up?
I know Zellner has the story. I contacted somebody that contacted her. I mean, I believe
Okay.
it. I know who they are. So
We sent it to her.
yeah, I've sent it to her too. What was the second part?
And
Do
if you think you might be subpoenaed by the state to testify.
I
thought we were going to get called in after we saw him at the gas station.
You would think
I
so.
for sure. I was just waiting for it. I was so filled with dread, really, to be honest.
I think possibly the fact that he was buying gas, that his side might have not wanted to call you in because it might look like accelerant to burn a body.
Yeah.
But why would the prosecution not use that is the big question.
Yeah.
Because they had built a
It
scenario.
was
Steve
related
had
to
not
that first
left his
case,
house.
so they don't want him being anywhere near this.
Yeah, that's it. They probably didn't want me anywhere near it because of what I saw on the beach. They didn't
Oh,
want
that's
Yeah.
probably it.
any of that thrown in there, So
Yeah.
I don't know. And then there's the trailer that burned down on Xander Road.
Yeah. What do you know on that, Dave? I've always had questions about that.
This is just Chad Keller, right? You know who
Yeah.
he is. This is stuff that he's mentioned to me, and he went and did a bunch of investigative stuff on the whole clan out there, the other friends of Avery's. I don't want to name a bunch of names because I don't remember them, and it doesn't pay to mention them. But there was some sort of love triangle going on with Marie, supposedly.
Oh, that's more than supposedly. We've got
Yeah.
record of that.
Another person, and somehow they were involved with this trailer on Xander Road, and
Okay.
Steve said that he was going to buy that for her after he got his money or something.
Mhm.
And then she went with somebody else, or they fell through. And in my
Do you know who she went with? She went with Bobby Dassey's best friend.
I'm not gonna name a bunch of names for these people that have been run through the ringer enough. I don't know, but unfortunately, and and that's maybe one of the reasons why he doesn't want to say he bought the gas and he burned his trailer down.
Yeah, the guy doesn't have a long track record of making really good decisions.
Yeah.
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 I mean, people get mad at you when you like, oh, you can't say anything bad about the guy, but
that's all stuff that goes through my head of why he wouldn't admit he was there. It just doesn't make any sense. Then, even if we were wrong, let's just say we were wrong, it still would have been relevant, right? It'd been worth checking into,
Well, there could be something to the fact that girl that he was with, if that was Marie Avery, that does complicate things, and you might be in more trouble bringing her into the picture because of the fact that at the time we had Baldwin, investigator Baldwin, Detective Baldwin, investigating the 2004 rape accusation that Marie had made against Steven. So in the light that we're looking at possibly a person that is accusing Steven of rape, if she happened to be the one that was in that vehicle, she nor Steven would have benefited for anybody knowing they were together that night. Then you top that off with gas being purchased. It just may not have looked good for the defense. And as you said, the state themselves, knowing who you are not going to want to bring you in as an eyewitness, because you could jeopardize a lot more than just what's going on right at that moment with your knowledge. So I'm sure there's more to it, but that's what makes me want to dig deeper as to why it didn't get reported.
One of our researchers, Zoe, she has a question. She's in Slovenia, so she's very excited to be awake while we're doing this.
Yeah.
She says, what keeps you still following the case and working on it, being through so much as you guys have been through?
Great question.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in it. I'll keep following it. And, like I said, I've said everything that I know, basically, that I have a lot of speculation. And there's other murders up there and other crimes up there that are also related to these people. And I just hope that someday, if they ever solve the Avery thing, they'll be able to, the dominoes will fall and everybody will find out about all the other shit these people have done.
Yeah. Well, these lies that they've packed over the truth will get peeled off. We'll keep working through it.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more up there. That Spaeth woman that's missing from up there, that's a friend of mine's aunt. And he swears that there's these same people are involved in her death.
Okay, explain what you just said about the state person.
Spaeth. There's
Oh,
her last name was Spaeth or something, and she was hanging out with these people. She, I don't know, some boyfriend, girlfriend stuff going on, but she disappeared, and she's never been seen again. And
when was that, Dave?
Late 80s, early 90s. I'd have to go look.
Okay. Well, and you know Carmen Boutwell's aunt was killed too, Deb Sakawati.
Yeah, she was found in another gravel pit.
No, she was found in Randick
Quarry.
Yeah, you guys say, I can't say it right. Radot, is that correct?
Yeah, and the guy who they busted for that says he didn't do it either.
Well, yeah, and what's real interesting is Deb Sakawati was actually named in the paper as her significant other was a guy named Tom Tadich.
Yeah. Well, the guy that Fensel guy who they blamed for that one,
yeah,
graduated with his brother, and he always swore his brother never did that. I mean,
it didn't look right. It looked kind of like a duplicate of the Teresa Halbach Avery case where it was like all planted is what it felt like.
Yeah.
I guess his feeling is that these people have been running amok up there.
Let me explain a mentality to you that I saw in these people. I'm not going to say who. I hung around with a lot of these assholes, and they feel like they're above the law. And if they're, let's just, for an example, if they're riding in a car with you and they run somebody over, that's a thrill to them. To kill somebody in front of you and to prove to you how bad they are and they can get away with it. They get thrills out of killing people. And I think a lot of these people that get killed, it's a thrill kill and political.
And to torture somebody else too.
Yeah. It's really, that's the mentality. It's part of it is a thrill kill for these people.
They say that more psychopaths rise to high positions, because they're well suited to rising. They're willing to go the extra mile that a person with more integrity and honesty wouldn't, do unscrupulous things to promote themselves, whereas someone who is less is going to rise to the top.
Like Al Capone busting the guy's head on the table in front of all of his, his friends,
Yeah.
that kind of a power, that's a power trip. That's what they're looking for.
Jeff has also asked, could it have been diesel fuel he was buying?
I'm pretty sure it was gasoline. There was another kid that contacted me that was there. He was young at the time. And he said he told me what pump he saw him at, and he was right. I never said exactly what pump it was, but it was red gas cans, and I'm pretty sure it was gasoline, but I'm not.
Yeah, it does matter. I know that it does matter what kind of gas.
And also the attendant supposedly saw him there too that night.
Oh, I have no doubt he was there. I'm curious as to why the prosecution didn't jump on that, or why the defense didn't jump on that, who the woman was that was with him. Those are the questions that I have, and maybe someday we'll figure it out.
There's been people that said that we're making a mistake. It wasn't Halloween. We were wrong.
You would know if it was Halloween. You're out watching the trick-or-treaters.
We specifically went into town for that reason. And all this stuff, news about this case and Teresa Halbach and everything, that all broke like right after that.
A couple days.
So within that time frame, it's real easy to remember where you were just like a week ago when it was a holiday and Halloween. And I'm 100% sure that it was Steven Avery, because some people were like, well, maybe it was someone else that looked like him, but it was him. There's absolutely no doubt.
Well, Gregory Allen was already locked up, so who else could there have been who looked like him, eh?
No, this was in not the 1980s.
Yeah, I know. I was just making a joke. Yeah.
Okay. No, it was him. Did we lose him?
I don't know. Did we lose somebody? Hello?
Hello? Yes? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I think we lost Rubber Ducky.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, there's some comments about he would have had an alibi if he had the timestamp on the receipt from the station and the girl with him as a witness. Ellie wouldn't have had like that.
I got booted.
Yeah, we wondered where you went. We
I'm
noticed
having
you
a
were gone.
storm.
Yeah, you're supposed to be getting bad weather up there.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Um,
I got hit
oh,
earlier. I told her if I disappeared during it, you know where I went.
all right, guys. Well, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. This was a very enjoyable conversation. Um, I think everything you're saying is dead on, and I think it's time that people quit being sheeple and wake up that this kind of mentality is what's running around amok over there. We're looking at the state of Wisconsin having no problems, just handing off biological evidence as if it doesn't matter, even after they've signed on the dotted line that, they will protect it and it's the state law. So, where's the RAV at this point? I'd say it's probably gone. I don't expect to ever see the RAV. But Dave, the history that you have, I hope you'll come back. I know you feel like a lot of the times you've said it so much that you're blue in the face and people are just starting to hear it all these years, many years later. But the truth is the seeds that you've planted of truth have grown quite a bit and people's eyes are open now, but there's still new people joining all the time. So I hope you'll come back sometime and join us again.
Jeff has one more quick question.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you remind us again of the time again? So I guess he wants to know what time of day it was when you had seen Steve.
At the gas station?
Yes.
It was in the evening after dark.
After 6 p.m.
Yeah. That's you don't, the time really wasn't that important to us at the time. You know what I mean? We weren't really
You don't know it's supposed to be important at the moment when it's happening.
I don't think I was wearing a watch. I'm pretty sure I didn't have my cell phone with me because we carried those things all the time. And when you take a break, sometimes you just want to get away from it. So I probably didn't even have a way to tell what the time was.
And like the woman that was in the truck too, I beat myself up over, I just didn't remember what she looked like. It wasn't something important to me.
Yeah, if only we had known that later this would be so significant. We could have been taking notes.
I just remember
taking pictures, right?
I got my video camera out.
A younger looking woman. I thought, well, gosh, she's got a girlfriend. He must be doing all right. I didn't know. That's all I thought.
Well, let me ask you this. This might be something. You said a younger looking woman. Did you feel, maybe you won't remember, but did you feel the woman looked much younger than Steve? I don't know.
She looked young for him.
I remember thinking that she was young and attractive. And like Dave said, I saw the truck. The truck was a nice truck. He looked nice. He had this nice looking young woman with him. And I thought, he's doing pretty well for himself. Appearance wise here he is out in his truck, newer truck. And I just remember thinking that, to myself, that we were making the assumption that the woman was like some sort of girlfriend or something, but
okay,
happened.
And we're getting lots of thank yous for coming from the crowd.
Yeah, we really do thank you guys a lot. It means a lot that somebody that has went through what you have is willing to continue to put your face out there for the public support on Steven and Brendan, because man, that's what's keeping them safe, is the more we talk about it. So thank you guys very much.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to try and take out Steven either.
I know. It scares me every day.
I feel they've made many runs at him in trying to get something to stick, Yeah,
I do too. Well, they don't play fair. That's for dang sure. All right. Well, before we say goodbye, is there anything anybody else wants to say? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody. And thank you, Sandra. And thank you, Dave, for coming on. And with that, we'll end our live. Have a wonderful day and much love to everybody. Thank you, guys.
You got to do your line?
Oh, yeah. Let's do our line. If you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time. Thanks, guys. Much love.